Welcome to But Are There Dragons, a podcast where two friends pick a book at least one of them hasn't read and talk about it. I'm your host, Kritter.
And I'm your host, Jess.
And we're here to talk about the first half of Book 5 of Dungeon Crawler Carl, The Butcher's Masquerade, chapters 1 through 38. We are over halfway through the published books in the series, and it's feeling like it. We're getting into some really serious stuff. But before we talk about the book, let's introduce ourselves. First, let's introduce our very, very exciting special guest, Sherbet Mango. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for joining us. So Jessica usually has questions lined up. So do you want to ask her questions, or is that for later?
Yeah, I usually ask our guests to share with us their DCC origin story, just kind of like showing their credentials at the door. So I try to keep this painless. How long ago were you introduced to the series? And if it was an interesting story, how were you introduced to the series?
Well, it was a couple of years ago. Two of my book friends were reading DCC. And they both said, I love this series. I'm not sure you're going to like it.
Okay. Not strong.
So, not a strong recommendation because of the lit RPG. It wasn't anything that I had ever read before. Anything similar. So, but yeah, I picked up the first one on audio. One of my friends had read it Kindle, and the other one audio booked it. And the audiobook recommendation was a lot stronger. So yeah, I picked it up and then I binged all 6 books that were out.
Yeah. So for anybody who is watching or listening who is not familiar with Sherbet Mango, she is a massive devourer of books. You are a voracious reader, and I am constantly in awe of how much reading you do. So I am not surprised to hear that you binge this at all.
Are you one of those people that reads like 100 books a year?
I am.
Ooh, no kidding. Okay, yeah. Wow. Those are the people, man. I don't understand it, but I respect it.
It's my hobby.
Yeah, no, that's incredible.
And she's real good at it.
Yeah.
And so you just rolled right into how do you partake, which sounds like you do mostly audio. Is that accurate?
I do all audio. So
Okay.
they're on Kindle Unlimited, so I have access to them, and I own all of the hardbacks signed, except for the last one. The last one's not signed, but I even have Operation Bounce House signed. So I've been able to meet Matt Dinniman 3 times. Just so happened that he was in Dallas twice for a book signing. And then when we were in Columbus at WatCon, he was at a book festival.
And I couldn't get away.
Oh, responsibilities.
Responsibility. Okay, actually, that's a perfect segue.
That's a great segue.
Today's But Are There Updates is about WatCon, the convention made for fans by fans of the Wheel of Time. So WatCon is in Columbus, Ohio every year for the past 4 or 5 years. It's been a ride. Jessica and I are both on the planning committee, if that's what you want to call it. Sherbet Mango has been there how many times?
5 times.
All the times. All the times. Okay. And what's funny is, I want to say at last year's WatCon, 2 years ago WatCon, I can't even remember what it was, but you kind of spearheaded like a little thing where there were a bunch of books on a table, right?
Yes.
Right. And so one of the books on the table was Dungeon Crawler Carl 2. Is that correct? Book 2.
Correct.
And I was like, oh gosh, I've heard people talk about this, but I'm like, I'm not totally sold about it just because it's like, what the heck is this book? And also look at the cover, at least if you look at like the ebook covers, they're so Macho Man, Randy Savage, which we'll talk about later. But I wasn't sold either. I just wasn't, even though you were like, oh, you got to read it. You got to try it. And everybody around me was like, you got to try it. And at that point I was like, oh, I probably will eventually. So it was just a matter of time, but it's fun that you were part of my Dungeon Crawler Carl origin story, and that happened at WatCon. So WatCon is incredible. If you're a fan of The Wheel of Time, if you've read all the books, if you've read some of the books, or if you haven't read any of the books but you were a fan of the show, we've got a con for you. This year, the guest of honor is Maxim, Taylor Napier, the actor who played Maxim, which is awesome. That was one of Alana's warders, the blonde one, the super buff one, the super hot one, whatever you want to say. He is our guest of honor this year. Last year we had Sharon Gillum, the costume designer from The Wheel of Time, which was incredible. The year before that we had Guy Roberts, who played Uno. So it's like, let's just say it's a pretty legit con. Jessica?
It is. And you can't forget our returning guests. We have Maria from Team Jordan. Maria Simmons is with us every year, and we love her. She is an institution, and it's one of the few cons she makes it to on the regular. So we love having her. Additionally, Michael and Kate Redding, if you are familiar with the audiobooks for that series and several other really well-known series, then you're familiar with Michael and Kate Redding. They also don't go to a lot of cons. They come to our con, and we are so grateful. So I think that's a huge selling point. And then I would just say that in-person tickets are still on sale. Kritter, do you have that deadline?
I'm looking. It's mid-June, so it's so soon. It's incredibly soon. And we didn't mention when the con is, but it is July 10th through 12th. So by the time this episode drops, we're going to be just over a month out. So it's close. Yeah. And I know it's mid-June, and it's somewhere in the Discord. And you know what? I don't have it, but it's like the 13th maybe, or the 14th, guys. You know what? Whenever you hear you hear us talking about WatCon, all you got to do is log into the website and get your tickets. And then you don't have to worry about the deadline. Just do it right when you hear us talking about it.
And you can attend virtually as well.
I was just going to say, for some folks, attending in person just isn't in the cards for whatever reason. And we work really hard. We have dedicated people who work to make sure that the virtual attendees get attention and have a good time and get to partake. And you get to view the sessions while they're streaming live, but you also get to watch them back. You have access to them over the course of the year. So even as somebody who attends in person, it is impossible for me to make it to all the things. And so I love having access to the recordings after the fact. So please, if you like Wheel of Time, consider giving us a try.
Yeah, and honestly, the virtual ticket is incredibly affordable. They're available even after the con starts, so there's no deadline that I'm aware of to buying virtual tickets. But obviously, don't forget, so get it as soon as you see this. And it's just awesome because not only do you get to see the panels that everybody that's at the con gets to see, but you get to watch the main stage events, which is super cool. And there's a roving reporter that goes around, and they're talking to people at the con in the hallways. They're checking out people with cosplay, stuff like that. And there are virtual only interviews. So these are interviews with special guests that people that are attending the con don't get to sit in on. So if they want to see them, they have to watch them back later too. But you, as a virtual attendee, gets to see them while they're happening, which is super cool. So I personally have never seen a con with a better virtual offering. It is truly the next best thing to being there. And if you're a Wheel of Time fan, I cannot recommend it enough. And I have a feeling that if you are a virtual attendee this year, that you're going to be much more likely to attend in person next year, just because you're going to get schooled. So Sherbet Mango, what is your favorite thing, favorite memory? What do you like about WatCon?
The friends we meet along the way, obviously, but there's some great panels. The Wat Ones panel is always really entertaining. Which is in the style of Hot Ones, a panel of guests answer increasingly difficult questions with increasingly hot wings.
So funny.
And so it's very entertaining. There's the Malkir Meme-Off, which is a meme competition where you have a panel of guests who try to come up with the funniest meme. Mm-hmm. And then my personal favorite is the Jitty Trial, which Kritter is always on, with Maria Simons as our judge. So we always put someone or something on trial. at the convention, and the audience is the jury, and we get to vote.
That is a huge highlight for me as well. I like take it way too seriously. So leading up, I'm like creating these
it's just right. Confirm from the audience, it's just right. It's so good. I think the takeaway though is there's a lot of different kinds of panels. So it's a relatively small con. It's a few hundred people. It's not as overwhelming in size as some larger cons, but we do try to offer a variety of content, whether it's strictly book related, strictly show related, strictly fun related activities. We try to cover our bases and have a little bit of everything. Hopefully you'll find something that you really like.
Yeah. So if you're not sold yet, or if you weren't sold before this, we hope that maybe we convinced you to go to WotCon. It's an extremely fun time. You can get your passes at wotcon.com. That's WOTCOM. Nope. WOTCON.com. And think about it. It's a great road trip from a lot of the country because it's in the middle of the country. Hopefully you can find some good flights. It's just a good time. And that's that. To the book.
Yay! What are their updates? Yes, so we just did DCC Origins. Only had one last question for your DCC Origin story. How many rereads have you done, Sherbert? Do you know?
I've done 3.
Okay.
So yeah, I did the original read, and then I had to start immediately again because it's really difficult to stop reading Dungeon Crawler Carl and to try to start reading anything else.
Yep.
And then I just did a reread before book 8 came out. So it took me a month, and I raced through the audiobooks. And
so you've read book 8 then?
I have read book 8.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Jessica's doing the noble thing and waiting so that we can read it for the first time together.
Good for you.
Mr. Jessica has already finished, and he is merciless about it. So I am definitely watching that clock for us to get there. Great. So thank you for that. We're going to go ahead and roll into the book. So we are looking at book 5, Butcher's Masquerade, where we are kicking off floor 6. I'm going to
interrupt you really quick. I forgot something. Last episode, we announced a giveaway. And yes, we have a winner. Okay, so the giveaway was for Dungeon Crawler World Earth Edition, the button here. And I actually picked up some Dungeon Crawler Carl stickers at another bookstore trip. So I'm going to throw in a sticker or two. I haven't opened it yet. But the winner of those fabulous prizes, thank you for those of you who went on and gave us a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I hope that maybe those of you who didn't do it for the giveaway might still go do it. Give us a review. It's very helpful. But the winner of that, who fulfilled all the requirements by giving us a review and putting a cat emoji in the comments on YouTube, was, drumroll please, Hot Sauce Steve, who I actually called out last episode. Yeah, he is a huge Dungeon Crawler Carl fan. Samantha specifically, which I think is hilarious. And yeah, he was one of the ones who entered, and by golly, he was the one who won the drawing. So I've already reached out to him. He's given me his address, so be looking forward to this. Steve, thank you so much for listening, giving us a review, and your participation. So sorry, Jessica. Now you can go.
No, yay for Steve. He's big on your Discord and
yes,
all up in all things DCC in your Discord. All I was doing was just kicking off that we are kicking off the 6th floor, definitely kicking it off with a bang.
Oh my gosh.
And I would love to hear your thoughts around Donut as a bard.
It's a classic cat move, isn't it? To think that she is so good at singing. That is obviously caterwauling.
Yes.
Caterwauling.
Yes. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure if you've been around long enough on my channel, on like the Kritter XD channel, if you've watched Wheel and Chill or listened to the podcast for the long haul, you've probably heard Agni caterwauling. And so I'm just picturing the that's what I hear. like Donut trying to sing. So yeah, that was pretty hilarious. Everyone's reaction to that. And what was funny is immediately Carl knew that it was going to be a problem, even though how does he like Donut was not someone who spoke actual words before this, but I guess you could assume. I guess you could always assume.
It's hard to imagine Agni or Donut remaining regal in those circumstances.
True. But the fact that she was so hyped about it was the funniest part.
Oh, yeah. Well, and they even tried to get her to sing along in a monotone. Yeah. To try to trick it along to
and still no.
Accepting it, and still nothing.
Still no, unfortunately.
So, it's always a good time. Donut is always highly entertaining, and I know how much you love our girl, so I figured, and also, in case folks don't see you on your channel doing other things, you have some bard-like tendencies yourself. So,
do I?
You do.
I mean,
you do. You play a bard in our Knights Who Say Chill campaign.
Technically not a bard. Technically, I'm a ranger who is an entertainer. Yeah,
no, I'm so sorry. I thought you multi-classed.
No. I'm a charisma, partially charisma. Well, no, it's a weird build, but like I can use wisdom towards charisma because of my elfiness, I think. But my backstory is entertainer. I'm a Fey Wanderer, entertainer, ranger. Don't ask. But yes, that's But so I do have some elements
I totally
of entertainment.
Thought you had multi-class to bard, so that's on me.
No, it's just my backstory. I'm just a very complicated girl. And we're talking here about our Dungeons and Dragons campaign, where we are the Knights Who Say Chill over on my Kritter XG channel. Jessica is oh my gosh, not an ogre. You're a
barbarian.
Barbarian, yes.
Goliath barbarian.
Goliath. That's what I was like. I know it's not an ogre. It's a Goliath barbarian, and she is a BA to keep us PG. She's awesome.
It's really nice to tank. It's a good time. So, anyways, moving on from that, I feel like at least once per book, we have a little conversation about different ways that Dinniman has managed to up the stakes along the way. I feel like this book delivers in that way as well. So, Sherbet, I'll kick it to you. Thoughts on flipping the narrative and Carl hunting the hunters? Would you like to expand on that?
I love it. It feels like we haven't had a whole lot of control over what's been going on in the series so far. And so this seems like an opportunity for Carl to take some control back and, go on the offensive a little bit. Because we are only on level 6. So one can only assume that the challenges get more the deeper we go down the floors. And so the hunters, I'm expecting them to be difficult to kill, but not impossible. So it feels like it's something that's in Carl's wheelhouse that he could actually take on. So I'm excited about it. The prizes are a little weird with the hands. Hands.
Yeah. And so at this point, are we surprised though? Are we surprised that the AI made it weird?
No. He could I guess the only surprise is that it's not feet.
Oh my god, that's so true. Oh.
Yeah.
This is true. So I know you said you've heard some of our episodes at least. I definitely am constantly happy with the way that Carl finds ways that are out of the norm to kind of flip the script and turn things back on them. And as much as I feel like we are bordering on some Darth Carl territory in this book, I do like the fact that he once again took a really negative situation and he turned it around and he raised the stakes on the other side.
Okay, but I'm a Kylo Ren girly to my core, and him being all aggressive, I'm gonna come and get you. Woo, it really worked for me. Let me just say, this plan, jumping over to whatever the city is and just going after them all. That was so fun and surprising. I did not anticipate that happening at all. They're like going to go pick some mushrooms, and all of a sudden Carl's apologizing to Donut, and they're just zipping away. Are you kidding me? And then they're like planting bombs. It's a whole orchestration. I don't know. Matt Dinniman never fails to impress and surprise. And honestly, because the first half of the last book, I was like, it's fine. Like, I'm not super into it. I feel like we're kind of slowly ramping up into the actual book. And then the second half was like mind blowing and I loved it.
Banger. Yep.
But this one, first half, banger. Just like start to finish, literally. Like maybe he got, notes after that book, after the fourth book, like, the beginning was kind of boring. I doubt. I mean, it was still really good. And he corrected it in this book. That's what it felt like, at least, because it was pretty awesome.
But this is also the first time in this book that we see Carl just kind of taking charge from Donut.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it later, but she does go along with it this time.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that he didn't clue her into the plan, obviously for plot purposes, but that he didn't clue her into the plan at all, and he just assumed and expected her to just come alongside, which she did.
Yeah. That was my biggest negative, was it felt like it was like very unilateral. He just kind of like assumes that she's going to go with what he does.
Mm-hmm.
But she does call him on it, and I think that speaks to the evolution, not only of their dynamic, because she called him on it and he accepted it, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can say whatever you want to say, but if the other party refuses to hear you, that's a whole nother issue. She called him on it and he took it. He took the note. So there's something to be said for that, for the growth in their dynamic, but also the growth in Donut, right? So it was always de facto Carl led the way when she was younger, however you choose to characterize her after she is changed by the pet biscuit. And I feel like as their relationship progressed, it's moving closer to a partnership. And I think that's a great moment that represents that.
Yeah. Well, I will say, though, that I'm not sure that I believe that he's always going to tell her, just because at least while there are people on the outside watching that can relay information to the hunters, like on the floors where that's a problem, at times it could harm them both for him to do that. And I think that he will take that into consideration when he's making his plans. Granted, like he's going to be an issue, right? He's going to be like, I'm supposed to tell Donut, but I can't because otherwise. So I'm hoping they come up with a system like they did on the fourth floor where they had that bathroom.
The ink.
Yeah. So, that's like
pretty cool.
It was pretty cool. Like they need slightly more time before their plans happen so that they can do the ink plan. Is all I'm saying.
But one of the things that happened in this section of the book, and I'm going a little bit out of order, is we find out Donut's got secrets too. So I don't want to jump all the way ahead. So I did have the only other note that I had ahead of that was before we jump into Audette's show, because I feel like that's a heck of a plot line. Mongo's all grown up. Mongo's everywhere, and Mongo's all grown up. And who would have seen that coming with all of the dino repellent spray that happened in the previous book?
Yeah. I don't know why I didn't think about it being like Mongos specifically. I just assumed it would be big bad dinosaurs. So the fact that it is Mongos is definitely complicated.
It is something else.
Complicated things.
So that was, a la Dinniman, very out there. It was on the more absurd track and kind of wild and fun. So Audette's show and the showdown with B. Where do we want to start? Who wants to go first?
Oh, you can go first, Sherbet. You're our guest.
I was waiting for this. So with us finding out at the end of the last book that B is alive, I was just waiting for this showdown because, Donut specific. I don't think Carl, has the same kind of level of angst with B that Donut does, but for Donut, I mean, she says it, you know, she was her whole world. And to have that taken away in a blink of a moment for, you know, you talked earlier a little bit about, you know, Donut's age and how old she is, but really as a child, you know, her mom was taken away from her. But then she has this tremendous bond with Carl now after everything that they've been through. And so to be able to see how Donut was going to react in this situation was really, really interesting.
Two of my all-time favorite quotes so far in this series are in this section. And one of them is, "You're not my person anymore." Because I mean, it was obviously gutting and terrible, and you know, I wasn't prepared for feels my first time through. When I got to that, I was like, "Oh, we're doing feelings. No, thank you. What happened in my silly little book? Why are we doing feelings?" But yeah, like I have it highlighted. It's such a visceral conversation, and it does speak to, you know, she was entirely dependent and smitten with B, and was so what is the word? Not disenfranchised, but so all of her illusions were shattered about their relationship, and how it just devastated her. Yeah.
But I think it was also interesting that Donut held it together for the show.
I love that. She's a performer.
She is a performer. She knew what she was doing. She knew what point she wanted to get across, and she wasn't going to let Audette have any of the drama until the camera cut. And then once the camera cut, we got that whole tirade. You can just see Audette just going, "Oh, why did we turn the cameras off? This is exactly what I wanted."
And I love that moment for her, because as much as there were plenty of times over the first few books, especially on the first read, where I was like, I get the performer persona that you're adopting because you were a show cat. Like, I get it. And I get that it leaves room for the absurd from the narration perspective. But I'm like, why is she still holding on to this? And she has literally created it as a suit of armor, like as a coping mechanism. And it also instills in her a sense of pride that she's like, nope, you don't get to see that, which I could very much relate to, right? Like, no, I'm not going to do that for your entertainment. And I respect the heck out of it.
Yeah. It was interesting to me how Carl reacted. He almost said nothing to her. And she's like, "Are you going to be able to come to me after?" And he was like, "Nope." Just like, it was very kind of aloof. And I guess, I mean, she cheated on him, so I get it. But at the same time, they have this wild, like, long history. And he was just not having it. Just not interested at all. That
also, he's had longer. Right? Like, he's had longer. He was already in the grieving process before the collapse. And he is that much more emotionally evolved than Donut. This is Donut's first breakup, for lack of a better characterization. This is her first time feeling that kind of emotional devastation. And also, we don't know how much Carl is compartmentalizing and shoving down.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I expected him to have more feelings, and I guess we don't know that he wasn't having more feelings. He just definitely wasn't letting on. And he did better than Donut, ultimately, because we never saw him break, like, even through the end. I don't know. It was... So you said, though, that two of your favorite lines, you're not my person anymore, and then what was the other one?
Vive la Revolution, Carl.
Oh, gosh! Okay.
So let's segue right into Donut and Zev doing secret conversations and smuggling rebels into wherever.
What? Yeah,
and
okay,
Carl doesn't even know how they're communicating.
Amen. I'm
He
so
suspects.
into that.
He suspects.
So I was on a quest to get my first Dungeon Crawler Carl t-shirt, right? So I had something in mind. I definitely wanted it to be Donut. I wanted an iconic phrase or something very Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I ended up with what I'm wearing right now, which is a Desperado Club shirt that says "So Fun It Hurts." It's got Donut with the tiara, with sunglasses, and a dirty shirt. So it's incredible. I love it. But as I was searching for like Donut t-shirt, whatever, there was something with her in a Che Guevara hat that said "Viva la Revolution, Carl," and I did not think it was a spoiler because I didn't know what was coming, right? I was like, oh, people are just like taking Donut and like extrapolating. And then whenever that happened in the book, I was just like, oh my God, this is incredible. Like,
fun fact, that's the other shirt that I own, and I haven't worn it on the stream because of that.
Yeah, I was very into the shirt, but I didn't fully understand it at the time. I just thought like, oh, that's fun. And then now I'm like, oh, I wish I would have worn one too, because it's so good. It's so
Rob,
good.
with Jen's New Creations, they have a version of that shirt. That's
they do? Okay.
Yes.
Well, then say less. I'll grab that.
And we
one.
love Rob Christensen and Jen because they are zero AI.
Mm-hmm. They're artists.
You know, all natural artists.
So if you want a Viva la Revolution shirt, you can check that out at newcreationsbyjen.com. It should be there because that's usually where their stuff is, at least. Yes. So that was very surprising, very exciting. And I will say that in the past, I've whined a little bit about Donut not pulling her weight. And based on this and based on something else that happened in this read, I am finally so pleased with Donut. Like, no notes, flawless victory, Donut. This passage was all Donut all the time. I loved it. And I say that with like Carl having done that incredible move at the beginning. Like, still, Donut was just, she killed it.
So I will say, leading up to this episode and your continued dissatisfaction with, I feel like she's taking, backseat. I feel like she's not really pulling her weight. I was like going through and looking, and I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure this event happens in the first half. So if we want to, we could just go ahead and hop right into it.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Donut and her just Bamf moment with Lucia Marr. And I love the fact that Dinniman made us wait, right? Like, I love the fact that he drew it out. Yes. And pulled Carl away so that Donut had to do it. And no notes, 10 of 10. Like, that battles aren't really my thing. I was hooked. I was stuck to my Kindle and could not walk away.
Mm-hmm. And like I mentioned, it feels like somehow Matt Dinniman has a time machine, and he went forward in time to watch the podcast in order to inform how he would write his books. Because it's literally like anything that I said, the first half of book 4 was a little meh for me. Donut's not doing enough. He's like, okay. And this book fixes it all. So I'm sure he probably has editors that say the same things I'm saying, but also it was me, so you're welcome. That's what it feels like. I'm so pleased. Like, Donut, she was so good. And the whole spell trick at the very end.
Yes.
Just, are you kidding me? I don't know.
Savage.
And the fact that she cast Fireball indoors is hilarious.
Indoors.
So hilarious.
They gave her a box for it. So
funny.
Yeah. Sherbert, do you have a favorite Donut moment from this half that rises to the surface that you want to share with us? Because I feel like it was a lot of Donut glory in this half.
It was. So one of my favorite quotes is, we don't talk about remakes, Zev. When Zev was talking about some remakes. So that was one of my favorite.
Killer.
And then, the Viva la Revolution call. What a way to end.
Good one. It's a good one.
chapter.
Yeah, and it's the end of a chapter. Like, it's just so crisp and tight. It's so good.
And the way Matt Dinniman made us wait to watch the fight with Donut for the recap episode, I thought was brilliant.
Brutal, but brilliant.
Totally.
Definitely. Oh, also, doing Donut quotes, I literally laughed out loud at least twice from a Donut line, and it wasn't even the one you mentioned. So one of them it has to do with the oh my gosh, the lady with the tattoos, the Signet plot, Vengeance of the Daughter, where they're talking about how Carl and Donut need to be guest stars and not take over the whole production. And she's essentially just like, that's like Audrey Hepburn and Macho Man Randy Savage taking a back seat. Like, I couldn't, I think that was the context, but either way, I laughed out loud. I like paused it. I wrote it in my notes so I would remember, but just like, it made me like, best way I can describe the laugh is that I barked when she said that. And then later it was something along the lines of somebody calling Donut mean. I can't even remember. It was Carl saying like, well, you're mean too. And I'm not insulting you, Carl. It's called constructive criticism. It's just like, that sounds like something I would say, honestly. So yeah, I feel like more and more I relate to Donut so hard.
Yeah. She's a hot ticket.
Yeah, she is.
So my next note was about the next level up. So especially in the first few episodes, but I feel like last book, not so much. I like the way that Dinniman keeps offering sneak peeks or snippets where we see how the world at large works and how the crawl fits in. And a lot of times it's things like Audette's show that gives us insight into that. And he's back at giving us a new way to give us that outer world lore. And it's Carl versus the con. And as our WatCon episode, it seems fitting to talk about, I don't know about you two, but when I read it the first time, I absolutely cackled because con life is a real thing. And of course there's a con for the crawler, for the crawl, and oh my god, it's going to be absolutely the most unhinged thing. And as far as I'm concerned, it didn't disappoint. How did you two feel about reading about Crawler Con?
I thought it was funny. I mean, it was, I feel like the art contest was just for laughs, but then the panel was interesting, right? Because they're like adamant that the crawlers not cheat. They don't even give them snacks anymore. It's all very strict. And then they put Carl in a room where somebody who's, I guess, in charge of the con gives him free reign to come up with a plan and get inside information and do all this stuff and train like a lot. So I just thought it was really funny. And it did feel very much like a con, right? He's sitting at a table just like, yeah, I don't know.
With an author and some panelists.
With a bunch of random people.
Somebody trying to plug her book. Like, it was so funny.
We've even got a moderator who took over and isn't giving anyone any time. And oh my gosh.
It hit all of those beats. And you got to imagine Dinniman's been to a few cons in his life, right? So, he's coming from a place of experience. But again, that panel room, I think it was a great cross-section of people who influence and are influenced by the crawl. And I was a big fan of that. I thought it was very cool. We have, somebody's in the room who is one of Carl's sponsors, and I have to leave. I can't interact with you. Again, like you said, the token author who's like, is this how it always goes? Like, do you always go this far off topic? And former crawlers and people who built the dungeon, and just wild.
Well, and the
wild cross section.
Not necessarily that this happens at normal cons, but the fact that Carl was sabotaged, he was drugged, so that he would do something stupid, presumably. I don't know what's funny is the moment he said, because she's kind of hot, about his sponsor, I immediately thought, wait. And then that's the moment he was like, wait, I'm drugged. So it was funny how like it was communicated so perfectly that we realized it at the same time he did, that something was up.
And then he was like, but I don't care, which is the whole point of the drug.
Yep. Yeah. It was pretty funny. It was giving Donut. It was like he was channeling Donut on that panel because he was so funny.
So reckless compared to, like, he's pretty tight in those external facing interactions that he has. Like, he's still got the rage and he's still got, the inner monologue or whatever, but he's usually pretty shipshape on the outside. And that was definitely more fast and loose than we normally see him.
Yeah.
I do want to, before we go away from the con, talk about what I thought was genius, which is crowd surfing strategies.
Yes.
Because even if it's only done as a misdirect, I thought it was brilliant.
Well, and it wasn't just a misdirect. He was taking the information they gave him, filing it away, and then creating an alternate plan. So that
turns out, and it's everybody's using whatever information they have access to, and he doesn't have the benefit of having a family that's outside of the con and coming here voluntarily. And we've got generations of experience hunting crawlers. So he created a resource essentially where there wasn't one. And I just thought that was inspired.
Yeah. Sorry, I just thought of something that we talked about a long time ago. So I'm going to circle back just because I can't ask you guys because you probably know the answer, but I want to talk about it. The fact that B is gone now, right? Is she actually gone? She clearly is still in love with Carl because she was upset whenever Carl broke up with her and they left their vacation early and she was trying to get back to him, presumably to try to get back with him. And she wanted him to come to her after the crawl, all of that stuff. Like, she clearly, I think, loves him, or at least did love him before what happened at the talk show. And so now I'm over here like, B redemption arc? Like, Carl hasn't had a love interest yet. You know what I mean? So far. Obviously, like, Signet, Donut seems to think they're trying to set Signet up with Carl, which I'm not mad about. Like, I don't care about a little swerve before you go to the main, the end game. You know what I mean? What was this? You're freaking me out. But
you called it a swerve. I was like, is that what the kids are calling it these days?
You know what? I don't know. I feel like it's an appropriate way. You know, like,
sure. You know, the path has many forks. Yeah, sure.
Maybe the kids will start calling it that because I just called it that. But whatever.
You're ahead of your time.
So I'm just wondering now. Carl has to get a love interest at some point. He doesn't have to, but I want him to. And so now my question is B endgame? Is she going to have some kind of redemption? Is she going to rescue him from the crawl somehow? Or obviously that would be way out of character, but I don't know. And I want to know. So that's all. Sorry.
Nope. It's good. We got to get it on the record.
If we're bringing up things that we should have mentioned in the past, the other thing that I really love about Donut is that she is so focused on snacks.
Yes. You were munching on strawberries.
And drinking margaritas.
She was, oh my God, she was beside herself that Carl had access to snacks. But every time they go on one of these shows, she's always looking around for snacks. And, you know, as a kitty cat, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yep, bless her.
One more way, she's deeply relatable.
Amen. I was going to say, she is me and I am her. What can I say?
Yeah. Yeah, if somebody else is having snacks and margaritas and I don't get to, yeah, I'm going to have a little bit of tude. Okay?
Amen.
That's just the way that's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of down to it. So double enthusiastic gonorrhea.
The arrow of enthusiastic double gonorrhea, which Matt Dinniman says is his favorite weapon that he's ever created.
Okay.
So is he going to keep coming back up? We'll see, I guess.
We'll see. I thought it was brilliant and hilarious. And, you know, it just so happens that brings us right up until our break point. We see the last male mantis in the dungeon show up and still have a little bit of respect for him at the end. So finds himself in a situation where no matter what he does, he's definitely screwed. How can he go down with any self-respect and hopefully not leave his family in potential jeopardy? And kind of does, you know, a noble thing and sacrifices himself. I thought that was a heck of a way to go out when you have very little control over your situation, and found it to be very parallel to the crawlers.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of neat.
So I did read this twice through, though, because of a misunderstanding where I thought I was only reading through chapter 18 for the longest time. And that was not Jessica's fault. That was my fault.
Let's just put it out on the table, though, because we were all reading to 3 different chapters at one point. And I do have to own part of that.
But we figured it out.
But we got it all figured out. And here we are.
Here we are. So at first I read through chapter 18, which took me like a minute. And I was like, wow, that took
I couldn't figure out why you were so anxious.
Yeah. And right, because it was like not much had happened. Granted that Carl's big thing had happened, but that was basically it. And it was right before the B talk show, whatever. So
right
I was
before.
Like, great. This is so much to wait for. And then I looked at for some reason I was looking at the chapter count. It's like, there's like 78
I get a text. She was like, there's like a lot of chapters. Yeah.
It's like, so why are we only reading to chapter 18?
Who said 18?
What? Anyways,
I'm like,
misunderstandings are a problem. The point of this is I have managed to read through the first half of it twice, but I literally finished like 4 minutes ago and I've already forgotten. But the Ra, or whatever the mantis is, she hasn't.
Ra.
It is Ra.
Vra with a V.
Vra, the mantis. She hasn't died yet, right? The guy just left and she's got enthusiastic double gonorrhea. Okay, that's okay. So I was like, but I guess she won't necessarily die. She just has to geld, or she just has to
geld herself or pass it along. So that's what Carl was wanting to prevent her from passing it along to this male.
Well, and this male was the last male.
Yeah.
Right.
So
as far as they know, the last mantis male, they do make a joke in there, like he doesn't know how intergalactic genitals work, and neither do we. So,
and I guess if she kept it until she left the dungeon, she could presumably pass it to someone else. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm just over here like, how's this going to work? Is she going to still be able to be the next queen? Or are they just going to ultimately kill her anyways? We'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah. So
she's mad at Carl, though.
So mad. So
I'm actually a little surprised. So I don't get really drawn into the antagonist point of view, but for whatever reason with Vra, I have a really hard time. There's like a little cognitive dissonance happening with me that she's this really mighty hunter, and she really prides herself on her hunting prowess and coming to the crawl and racking up a body count, and she's going to chuck it all to have babies. And I just have a weird thing about it. I remember it kind of not hitting for me before, but I was like, the fact, I just don't like it, I guess. I don't know
fair.
How else
I didn't really think about it.
Yeah. I am a mother. Folks who choose parenthood either in lieu of or in addition to a career, I literally don't care. But for whatever reason, I was like, she's like a real BA hunter. And does she want, is that what she wants to do, is just spawn 1,000 babies? Or is that just the plan for her?
Might just be the plan for her. I don't know. I guess I thought of this as like, but I bet it's more likely that it's, she's the eldest daughter or whatever. So that's just what she has to do. But in my mind also, it was like, this is like Rumspringa, or like, so she's like sowing her wild oats, but the opposite of that for a while. And then she goes on to live her like real life, right? Because the hunting grounds, that's not real life. Nobody knows, that's not real life.
Oh, that's very Westworld.
It is. Yeah, it is very Westworld.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, that's like granted Westworld. Well, I guess Westworld happened before this. So it feels very Westworld, this particular floor. Because it's like, well, I guess in Westworld, though, you can't actually die. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
We're in the weeds. It
still feels pretty Westworld to me. If you haven't seen it, it was fine at first, and then it ended weird.
So that brings us to any standout moments, and I will go. Sherbet, we'll let you go first. Do you have a favorite moment that we haven't touched on or you haven't gotten to speak to yet?
I've got a couple. One of them, I just wanted to briefly mention that one of the safe rooms that they go to is a Whataburger, which is a burger chain in Texas. So I thought that was a fun Easter egg.
Well, and didn't Carl not know what it was? Like he was like some burger place called Whataburger, and then Louis or Faraz was like, "Oh my god,
surprise!" The other thing is, I really liked whenever they joined the guilds together that they called it Safe Home Yolanda.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really lovely callback to the first book, and also interestingly enough, Yolanda is the one character that Matt Dinniman feels bad about killing.
Oh,
so yeah. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that we didn't bring up Quasar.
We didn't.
Oh, how could we not bring up
is a hoot. Quasar is a hoot. Quasar gives me really big Leo Getz vibes. So I might be showing my age, but if anybody's seen the Lethal Weapons movies, Joe Pesci turns
Joe Pesci, I can
Joe
see.
Pesci, gives a certain style of performance, and Quasar gives me deep Joe Pesci vibes, in a good way, which I can't believe I'm saying, but that's what he makes me think of.
Yeah. As an attorney myself, I effing loved him. He was so funny. Like all of the stuff that, he like comes up with these like, we can't do it this way. So like, what about this? And he's just like giving Carl these ideas and like, he has a voicemail. It's, like everything about him it was so real for being an intergalactic attorney. He's ripping on his vape pen. He's just like, we got to skip the stage where I can't even, where we're like holding hands.
Yeah. We don't have time.
Straight to the part where you criticize me for how much I smoke or something.
That's
like
literally,
that.
Like honestly, all of the euphemisms, the
I know. I have my favorite quote from him, but I think it's too salacious for.
I mean, you just do us a favor and like to the extent you can, make it PG.
I don't think you can.
Okay, fair enough.
It's you're in the wrong spot, and your mom's pulling in the driveway. You get me?
Yes,
gotcha.
I remember that one. Carl didn't understand it, and I was like, "How do you not understand that?" I understood that reference immediately, or not reference. I understood the metaphor. It made perfect sense.
Yeah. Good call out, Sherbs. I totally forgot, and I still like Orin better, but Quasar is a great foil.
No, Quasar. I'm Team Quasar. In that, it's okay. But this makes sense. You're Orin, I'm Quasar from now on.
Fine. Which is kind of weird because I'm pretty quirky, but yeah, for other reasons, I like Orin.
Fair enough.
Any other call outs, Sherbs? Those are good ones.
That's my list.
Nice. Kritter, do you got anything we haven't touched on that you wanted to get off your chest?
Okay, so the music that was chosen in the traps, Wonderwall being something that Carl absolutely detests and Donut is obsessed with, is so funny. She's like, "You picked the wrong trap, Carl." It's like she's there's no way that could possibly be annoying to anyone, she thinks. So funny. And then also the ballroom blitz for once Carl returns, and then the chaos ensues, Lucy, all of the hunters are there or whatever. I could like see that. That was so cinematic. And the fact that ballroom blitz was playing, it was like, it added to, I don't know. I would love to see that fight on screen with ballroom blitz as the background music. And then one other thing that I thought was funny and is completely irrelevant. Well, okay, two things. The first thing was Donut telling Carl that she thinks that Samantha reminds her of Critters, because of course it like pinged me a little bit. I thought it was really funny. I've never seen that movie, but the fact that she was saying it made me laugh. And thing number two about Samantha. Last book I was not sold. I thought she was very annoying. This book, she is growing on me. We're getting there. I
was going to ask.
Yes.
Especially in honor of Steve. I have to ask.
In honor of Steve. Not even in honor of Steve. On my own, I came to, what, I'm appreciating Samantha. And she still does some silly things, like asking Signet to just die so that she could have her body. And like
only takes
with her whole chest.
Yeah.
With her whole imaginary chest.
Yeah, her incredibly excellent chest, apparently.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, okay, come on, like that's stupid. And she's like rolling off into the jungle and getting stuck. That kind of stuff. I could take her leave, but like in fights, she's so fun. Like she goes and latches onto one of the hunters who's like, bring me back, bring me back, bring me back. And she brings him back. And it's like, that's super handy.
How about the role she played in Saving Donut?
Fight. She tripped a trap for her. That's what, and Carl noticed like several things happened where she was like totally critical and an asset. And that to me, I was like, I see you, Samantha.
Someone has a character arc.
Yeah, we're getting there. And so, yeah, it's just funny to me whenever Steve said, "Oh my gosh, I love Samantha. She's the best." The moment I met her,
really?
I was like, "Really?" And now I expect great things, and I'm seeing some great things.
Yeah, I love that. I also loved, you just triggered for me in those moments, Carl is totally armchair quarterbacking, like
Yes.
talking to the screen, which I do all the time.
Guilty.
So hilarious.
And Donut called it a Monday morning shortstop.
Yes, that, and it was like, I mean, I get what you were going for, but you, where'd you go? Like, how'd you get there? So I thought that it was neat that got pointed out. Yeah. I thought that it was neat to see him partake, like for him to perceive what happened, and he had zero control. And so he was just getting the DL on what happened. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a nice change of pace for Carl. Yeah. I thought it was good. But we saw in that moment that, you know, Samantha may not be all that she seems. And we also saw, related to that Carl was, you know, trying to push Donut to be like, you know, you were really lucky, right? And eventually realizes that she's gently shutting that conversation down so they don't have to have it where others can see it. And he's realizing in that moment that Donut is also more than she appears and smarter than that, and he should give her the credit. So it's nice to see him catch up on that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to our wrap-up. So we did fave moments and standouts. Do you have a fave mob that you would like to call out, Sherbet? For everybody's information, Sherbet got 0 heads up on this. So if she doesn't have an answer, we are not going to give her a hard time.
I don't think I have an answer for a mob. My favorite fight was the one between Donut and Lucia Moore.
Heck yeah.
It was
absolutely
just brilliant. So teased well, executed well.
Yeah. And it was completely engrossing. Mm-hmm. Kritter, did you have a favorite mob or a favorite fight you wanted to call out?
I do. So the fact that Carl going to the city at the very beginning of the book isn't gonna win this is wild to me, because when that happened, my mind was blown. I was happy as a clam, but it's got to be the Donut fight, because like, I know Carl can do that crazy stuff. I didn't know Donut had it in her to do what she did with Lucia Moore, and I was like fist bumping. That was hooting and hollering. It was very exciting. It was thrilling from start to finish, and the build up to it was very satisfying.
Okay. I took this a little bit different. I didn't pick a favorite mob. I picked a favorite baddie, which is one of the terms we had used. Mm-hmm. I thought Cersei took was so delicious. So Vra's mother, who was moderating the panel that Carl was on, she was just chef's kiss, perfect, vengeful, spiteful, but highly intelligent, and working the angles. And I just loved her as my baddie for this half of the book.
Fair enough.
Okay. All right, so I put you on the spot first, Sherbet, so I'm going to go to you, Kritter. Kritter, for this section, we do our runner-up and our MVP, and we vote, and we will see who is the winner for this half, and then we will tally it again at the end like we normally do. Who is your runner-up for the first half of the Butcher's Masquerade?
Okay, so this is complicated. Remind me of the name of the lawyer. Is it Quasar? Is that the lawyer?
Quasar.
Okay, so I want to give a shout out to Quasar, because he's like my number 3 spot. But my number 2 spot is Carl, which doesn't always happen, you guys. Carl's typically my number 1, but today he's runner-up. He was super fun. He did do that awesome fight at the beginning where they teleported to the place and he negotiated the teleport spells and all of that stuff. But as I said before, it kind of made me a little mad that he did that without Donut's consent, without Donut knowing about it. He really put her in danger in that way. So, you know, points off for that. And then, yeah, he was great the whole time, consistently, but someone else was more of a standout.
I wonder who that could be.
I wonder.
We're not going to skip ahead. Sherbet, do you have a runner-up you'd like to share with us?
So my runner-up is Quasar, and
good choice.
It may be because of the rest of the series as well. He's got some great quotes. But just seeing him introduced And mentioned throughout this whole section, Carl calls back to him several times. He's got to be my number 2.
Nice.
Good choice.
So for me, for my runner-up, I went a little bit different. I chose Zev because I feel like it was time to point out once again that there are things that are happening outside of the dungeon that are directly impacting them, and that she is clearly part of it, as we saw based on her conversation, based on the comment that Donut made. So for this half of the book, I chose Zev. Okay. So now we go into MVP land, which is going to be completely shocking across the board. I have no doubt.
I'm sure we're all
Kritter for the first half of Butcher's Masquerade. Who would you like to pick for your MVP?
Viva la Revolution, Carl! It's Donut, obviously. Yeah, no, she slayed. I loved her this whole time. The fact that she orchestrated a freaking revolution, just, are you kidding me? And Carl had no idea. Carl's over here with a bonus Dungeon Anarchist cookbook where he's getting inside intel about revolution and all this other stuff, and Donut's over here making it happen IRL. And then she takes out one of Lucia Mar's 2 dogs, the big one, I think.
The big one.
The big one. She takes out the big one with her wits and without any help from Carl or anybody else. So, yeah, I mean, there's no debate in my mind, and I'm curious to see who you all pick.
Sherbet, would you like to go?
I will. I'm not going to break this streak. It's Donut as well. So I specifically the moments that she had with B and showing her character growth through those scenes, her keeping it together in front of the camera and then letting it loose whenever she had a moment, along with the other things that Kritter mentioned. But she's just, man, that fight scene, knowing that she can do it on her own, and she was so confident in herself as well. Carl was the one that was so worried, but did you know that was going to work? Of course I knew it was going to work, Carl.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
amazing. So I'm going to keep the Donut Love Fest alive. It is unanimous. Donut by a landslide for this half of the book. I feel like it's a real coming of age. She's, she was kind of lagging behind. I think no matter who you are, you can agree with that. And it was really great to see her come into her own. And it, by all appearances, didn't hesitate, right? Like, she was in it and she did it. And she did it masterfully. So, yeah, Donut for the win.
Amen.
Okay. So, for us, that's it for today. We are going to be finishing book 5 of Dungeon Crawler Carl, The Butcher's Masquerade. So keep an eye out for that episode, which will be chapters 39 through the end. That will drop wherever you get your pods or here on YouTube, June 23rd. And so we want to say thank you so much for joining us and tuning into our 9th episode of Season 7 of But Are There Dragons? Brought to you by your hosts, Jessica Sadai and Kritter XD. Don't forget to follow us at But Are There Dragons on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and But Dragons Pod, just one T, on X. You can also find your hosts on social media as Kritter XD and Shelf Indulgence. That's it for today. New achievement. It's raining cats and dogs. Or should we say dogs or dog? We're talking about Cece, of course. Rip, I guess, for that murderous doggo. Reward? Donut left for round 2. Good night.
Thank you, Sherbet. Bye.
thank you guys.